Take a glass of water from a river and a glass of water from the ocean. At first glance, they may look exactly the same. Both are clear. Both are made mostly of water. But there is one major difference. One can be safely used as drinking water. The other tastes incredibly salty. Have you ever wondered why? Why is ocean water salty while rivers, lakes, and streams are usually fresh? Where did all that salt come from? And if rivers constantly flow into the ocean, why doesn't the ocean eventually overflow with salt? The answer involves billions of years of Earth's history, powerful geological forces, weathering, rivers, volcanoes, and one of the greatest recycling systems on our planet. Let's dive into the fascinating science behind why Earth's oceans are salty. To understand ocean saltiness, we first need to understand what salt actually is. When most people think of salt, they think of table salt. Its scientific name is sodium chloride. It is made of two elements, sodium and chlorine. However, ocean water contains much more than just sodium chloride. Seawater contains dozens of dissolved minerals and elements, including magnesium, calcium, potassium, sulfate, and many others. Together, these dissolved substances create what scientists call salinity. Salinity refers to the amount of dissolved salts present in water. On average, ocean water contains about 35 grams of dissolved salt for every kilogram of water. That means roughly 3.5% of seawater consists of dissolved salts. But where did all these salts come from? The story begins on land. Rainwater may seem pure, but it naturally absorbs small amounts of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. This creates a weak carbonic acid solution. Although very mild, this acidic water slowly breaks down rocks through a process called weathering. Over millions of years, rain falls on mountains, hills, and landscapes around the world. As water flows across rocks, it dissolves tiny amounts of minerals and carries them away. These dissolved minerals enter streams and rivers. Eventually, rivers transport them to the oceans. Every day, rivers around the world carry millions of tons of dissolved minerals toward the sea. The amount carried by any single river may seem small. But remember, this process has been occurring for billions of years. Imagine adding a tiny pinch of salt to a giant container every day for billions of years. Eventually, the amount becomes enormous. This continuous delivery of minerals from land is one of the primary reasons ocean water is salty. But rivers are not the only source. Deep beneath the oceans, another process contributes to salinity. The seafloor contains cracks and openings where seawater interacts with hot rocks inside Earth's crust. These locations are known as hydrothermal vents. At hydrothermal vents, seawater seeps into the Earth's crust. The water becomes extremely hot and reacts chemically with surrounding rocks. As it returns to the ocean, it carries dissolved minerals and elements. These underwater geological systems continuously add chemicals to seawater. Volcanoes have also played an important role throughout Earth's history. When volcanoes erupt, they release gases and minerals from deep inside the Earth. Over geological timescales, volcanic activity has contributed additional substances to the oceans. Together, weathering, rivers, hydrothermal vents, and volcanic processes have gradually enriched the oceans with dissolved salts. At this point, you might wonder something. If rivers continuously bring salt into the ocean, why doesn't the ocean become saltier and saltier forever? The answer lies in balance. While salts enter the ocean, some are also removed. Many marine organisms use dissolved minerals to build shells, skeletons, and other structures. When these organisms die, some of the minerals become trapped in ocean sediments. Certain chemical reactions also remove dissolved substances from seawater. Additionally, geological processes lock minerals into rocks on the seafloor. These removal mechanisms help maintain a long-term balance between inputs and outputs. As a result, ocean salinity remains relatively stable over long periods of time. Another common question is why rivers remain fresh if they constantly dissolve minerals from rocks. The answer is concentration. Rivers do contain dissolved salts. However, the concentration is usually much lower than in the ocean. As rivers flow, they continuously receive fresh water from rainfall, groundwater, and melting snow. The dissolved minerals remain relatively diluted. When river water eventually reaches the ocean, something different happens. Water leaves the ocean primarily through evaporation. The sun heats the ocean surface, causing water molecules to evaporate into the atmosphere. The dissolved salts are left behind. Only the water escapes. This process has been occurring for billions of years. Fresh water evaporates. Salt remains. Over immense timescales, the concentration of salt gradually increases. This is one reason the ocean is much saltier than rivers and lakes. Interestingly, not all oceans have exactly the same salinity. Some regions are saltier than others. In areas where evaporation is very high and rainfall is low, salinity tends to increase. In regions with heavy rainfall or large inputs of freshwater from rivers, salinity tends to decrease. For example, tropical regions with intense evaporation often have higher salinity levels. Areas near large river systems may have lower salinity. Some bodies of water are even saltier than the ocean. One famous example is the Dead Sea. Because water leaves mainly through evaporation while salts remain behind, the Dead Sea has an extremely high salt concentration. Its water is so dense that people can float effortlessly on its surface. The oceans themselves contain an astonishing amount of salt. Scientists estimate that if all the salt dissolved in Earth's oceans were removed and spread evenly across the planet's land surfaces, it would create a layer more than 150 meters thick. That's roughly the height of a 40-story building. The total amount of dissolved salt in the oceans is estimated to be around 50 quadrillion tons. That is an almost unimaginable quantity. Salt plays an important role in ocean ecosystems. Marine organisms have evolved to survive within specific salinity ranges. Changes in salinity can affect ocean circulation, climate patterns, and marine life. In fact, differences in salinity help drive major ocean currents that transport heat around the globe. These currents influence weather, climate, and ecosystems across entire continents. Without salinity, Earth's oceans would function very differently. The saltiness of the oceans is not merely a curiosity. It is an essential part of the planet's environmental systems. While the ocean contains many dissolved minerals, not all of them accumulate in the same way. Calcium, for example, is constantly removed by marine organisms such as corals, clams, oysters, and microscopic plankton. These creatures use calcium to build shells and skeletons, which eventually sink to the seafloor and become sediments or limestone. Magnesium often reacts with hot rocks near hydrothermal vents and becomes locked within Earth's crust. Potassium can become trapped in clay minerals and seafloor sediments, while iron is rapidly absorbed by marine life. Silica is used by tiny organisms called diatoms to construct glass-like shells that later settle on the ocean floor. Carbonate and bicarbonate ions are also removed as marine organisms build calcium carbonate shells and reefs. Sodium and chloride, however, behave differently. They are highly soluble and relatively unreactive in seawater. Few organisms use them in large quantities, and only a limited number of geological processes remove them efficiently. Because of this, they remain dissolved in the ocean for extremely long periods, often tens of millions of years. Scientists refer to this as their residence time. While many other minerals are constantly being recycled and removed, sodium and chloride tend to stay behind. Over billions of years, they gradually accumulated, eventually becoming the dominant dissolved salts that give the ocean its familiar salty taste. The next time you stand on a beach and taste the salty ocean spray, remember that you're experiencing the result of a process that has been unfolding for billions of years. Every raindrop that weathered a rock. Every river that carried minerals to the sea. Every underwater volcanic vent. Every geological cycle throughout Earth's history. Together, they helped create the salty oceans we know today. What seems like a simple question, why is ocean water salty, reveals an extraordinary story connecting the atmosphere, land, rivers, geology, and life itself. A story written over billions of years, one grain of dissolved salt at a time. And it continues even now, with every river flowing toward the sea.